Hello, everyone. Welcome back. It's Sunday. Happy Easter to everyone. As we have discussed in prior videos, it's a season of renewal, it's a season of change for the better. What else? This channel is called Today's Takes with Alex, and I happen to be your host, Alex. And today we're talking about something special. It's a fundamental principle in Judaism and Christianity. Probably it's universal, honestly, and it's to quote unquote love your neighbor as yourself. Right? Do unto others as you wish to be done unto you. Right? These um, these principles of social cohesion, social unity. That it's like when Cain, after he murdered his brother Abel, and God asked him, "Have you seen Abel?" And Cain goes, "Am I my brother's keeper?" So that was the wrong answer, okay? Because it turns out that we are, in a sense, our brother's keeper. Being here, living amongst each other in this point in time and throughout history, but especially now, since we're moving forward, hopefully with consciousness, with elevation, right? The principle of "Am I my brother's keeper?" And look what's happening around the world. We're taking the U.S., Israel, and other great allies are taking out neighbors that are asked, "Am I my brother's keeper?" Right? And remember, he said that after he killed him. That's wild. He killed him, and the guy goes, "Where's Abel?" He goes, "I don't know. Am I my brother's keeper?" Like that's chutzpah. It's like, why should I care? Why should I care what happened to him? And that was the wrong answer. The point is that um, we have to really ingrain in ourselves this aspect of "Am I my brother's keeper?" Because it's this unity, this sense of having a achrayas, a responsibility, not to live life for someone else, but within my lane. Am I swerving into someone else's lane? And if so, why? And and there are appropriate times to do that, right? If you see someone struggling, if you see something that's out of place, that is wrong, that obviously is going against values, or just principles. It's our responsibility to go ahead and look out for our neighbor. It's very basic. So this is arguably the Torah's greatest command, is to live by this principle. And when we don't live by this principle, it's very damaging. It's like, and then you find out, it's like, there's a huge sense of, like different kinds of energy. It's like, and that's not how we want to live. Because if we were in the other person's shoes, we would wish that others acted with integrity towards them. So here we go. Shalom, friends, and welcome to this exploration of one of the most famous and profound commandments in the entire Torah. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. This single verse, found in Leviticus, is described by the great sage Rabbi Akiva as a great principle of Torah. It stands at the heart of Jewish ethics, shaping how we relate to others, and ultimately, how we live our covenant with God. Today, we're going to look at what the Torah and classical Jewish sources actually teach about the mitzvah, its depth and practical applications, and why it remains one of the most challenging yet transformative teachings in Jewish tradition. We'll keep everything grounded in traditional sources and accessible for all. And so let's begin. This verse appears in the middle of Parshas Kedoshim, the portion that calls the entire Jewish people to holiness. You shall be holy, for I, the Lord your God, am holy. Right in this section, filled with ethical and ritual laws, we read, You shall not take vengeance, nor bear any grudge against the children of your people, but you shall love your neighbor as yourself. I am the Lord. Notice the context. This command is not abstract philosophy. It sits alongside practical instructions, leaving the corners of the field for the poor, not stealing, not lying in court, paying workers on time, and treating the stranger with fairness. Loving your neighbor is presented as part of a holistic way of life that makes a community holy. The phrase, as yourself, kamocha, is especially powerful. It challenges us to extend the same care, respect, and concern we naturally feel for our own well-being to the person next to us. Jewish tradition points to many biblical figures who embodied this commandment. Abraham is the classic model of loving others. Even in the heat of the day, he runs to welcome 3 strangers, offering them rest, food, and shade without knowing who they are. His hospitality becomes the eternal Jewish ideal of chesed, loving kindness. Moses shows protective love when he defends the daughters of Jethro from shepherds at the well, risking his own safety for people he has never met. In the book of Ruth, we see the beautifully reciprocity of this love. Ruth's loyalty to Naomi, where you go, I will go, is matched by Boaz's kindness and integrity, leading to redemption for the entire family line. These stories teach that loving your neighbor is active. It involves seeing the other person's needs and responding with generosity and respect. How do the sages understand this commandment in practice? When a prospective convert asked Hillel to teach him the entire Torah while standing on one foot, Hillel famously replied, "What is hateful to you, do not do to your fellow." That is the whole Torah. The rest is commentary. Now go and study. This negative formulation of love your neighbor became known as the Jewish Golden Rule. It sets a clear baseline. If something would hurt or humiliate you, don't do it to someone else. Maimonides explains that the mitzvah includes positive actions, visiting the sick, comforting mourners, helping with burial needs, rejoicing at weddings, and providing for the poor. He emphasizes that true love of neighbor means wanting for others the same good we want for ourselves. The Talmud adds important boundaries and nuances. Loving your neighbor does not mean ignoring justice or enabling harmful behavior. It also extends to fair judgment. We are told to judge every person favorably and to avoid gossip or causing embarrassment, which the sages compare to shedding blood. Importantly, this command applies not only to fellow Jews, but, according to many authorities, to all human beings created in God's image. So what does loving your neighbor as yourself look like in daily life? It can be as simple as offering a genuine smile, listening without interrupting, returning a lost item, or speaking up when someone is being treated unfairly. It includes forgiving small offenses rather than bearing a grudge, and actively seeking ways to bring joy to others. The Hasidic masters added a beautiful layer. Because every person carries a divine spark, loving your neighbor is ultimately a way of loving God. When we see the holiness in another human being, we draw closer to the source of life. This mitzvah also calls us to love ourselves in a healthy way. True self-love, caring for our own physical, emotional, and spiritual well-being, makes it possible to extend genuine care outward rather than from a place of emptiness or resentment. In a world often divided by differences, The command to love your neighbor as yourself offers a powerful antidote. It reminds us that beneath surface disagreements, we share a common humanity and a common creator. Every act of kindness, every moment of empathy, every choice to see the good in another person strengthens the bonds of community and brings more holiness into the world. Remember, that's what we're here to do. The sages teach that when we truly live with this commandment, we create a foretaste of the Messianic era, a time when peace and mutual respect will fill the earth. Loving your neighbor as yourself is far more than a nice sentiment. It is a practical, demanding, and deeply transformative mitzvah. It calls us to build a holy society, one relationship at a time, starting with the person right in front of us. If this exploration spoke to you, especially during these times when we celebrate the rising of Jesus, or especially on how he got there, right? That he was betrayed by the people closest to him, and despite that, we see that God's providence over his life shows that despite negativity, God runs the world. So anyway, this is a season of rebirth, renewal, and change, and a new mindset, happiness, and taking the lessons of the past, integrating them, and moving forward with discernment. So what does love your neighbor as yourself mean to you personally? Have you experienced a moment where someone's kindness made a real difference in your life? Which story or teaching resonated most? Please subscribe, like the video, and turn on notifications. Because we will have more thoughtful journeys through Jewish values and wisdom. Thank you for watching. May we all merit to fulfill this great principle of God's will with open hearts and understanding. Now, it does take humbling of the ego, as we talked about Passover in this time, about getting rid of the physical predominance of our nature and tapping into the spiritual self. Meaningful relationships, meaningful endeavors, meaningful work, meaningful words, and understanding that we don't live, like, no one lives in a black hole. It's like we all live together, and so we want to be holy citizens. We want to be holy neighbors. We want to be holy people. And so I'm wishing everyone, you should be blessed. Everyone should be safe. We should see great success. This isn't just like a personal thing, but this is an important, klal gadol, but Torah. It's an important thing to realize that I in a sense I am my brother's keeper, and so looking out for him or her is very important. Okay, and that kind of unity, it helps strengthen the human collective consciousness, where we are all kind of like lamps harboring this consciousness of this human experience, and we don't do it alone. We have to do it together. Okay, everyone be blessed. Good luck. Have a great week.